All right, guys, we're going to start this video. This is going to be the second part of 3.7 entrepreneurship and business management. And I want to thank you guys for coming back on this video. Once again, once we're done with this tutorial, we're going to move into investment 101. So like I started off with all my videos, disclaimer. The financial information contained in this video is for informational purposes only and not for the purpose of providing specific financial advice. You should contact a financial advisor to obtain specific financial advice. So once again, this is the second part of 3.7, and this is going to cover the business side. So in the prior video, I talked to you guys about entrepreneurship, i.e. who you have to be. Now, this is going to get into the actual business itself. So the first thing that I want to introduce to you guys is the BI triangle. It was introduced by Robert Kiyosaki, and this shows you the 8 critical areas of a business. Now, what you guys are going to notice, the outer levels of the triangle are going to be the mission of the business, the leadership, and the team. And the inner levels are going to be cash flow, legal, systems, communication, and ultimately the product or service that the business is going to be offering. So now let's talk about, we're going to talk about the outer levels. So we're going to talk about business, team, and leadership. So just so you guys have some context, these are going to have the entrepreneurial skill sets that you need for these superimposed onto the actual business sections. So let's start with the mission. Mission being the purpose of the business. So when we talk about mission, this is actually the most vital part about a business, because this is ultimately why the business is in business. And at the mission level, there's a couple questions that need to be answered. One of the first things, and the most important, is what problem is the business trying to solve? Another one is going to be, what does the business value? What's the culture of the business? And what quote unquote code does the business abide by? Moving right along into the second one, and that's going to be the team, or the individuals working on the goal. So the team level, it addresses the people working in the business. So these are anyone between frontline employees to middle management, and these are typically people who are dealing with the end consumer, and they're the ones who are instructed to navigate through whatever problems the business is going to have. So these are the experts serving the business to further the mission. That's the easiest way to describe what a team is. I should really say that they don't have to be experts. These are just the individuals who are driving the business towards its mission. Moving on to the last part. The last part is going to be leadership. And these are going to be the people who drive the team towards the mission. So when we talk about leadership, if you guys remember what I said in the first part in entrepreneurship, we talked about business leadership as a entrepreneurial skill. And in this one, you can actually take a lot of the stuff that I said about the entrepreneurial skill set of leadership and superimpose it into this part of the critical areas of a business. Now, what I said to open up this particular item was that a leader's job is to motivate the team towards accomplishing the goals of the business. And that, in a sense, is why you need a leader. You need someone to keep you on track. And a business leader's job is to work on the business. And that means finding more efficient ways and effective ways to bringing the team towards whatever the mission is. So now we're going to talk about the inner levels. So these are the ones that require a degree of technical skill. So just context, the inner level are going to be composed of 5, and that's going to be the cash flow level, communications, systems, legal, and product/service. So now let's start with cash flow, the money management level. So at this level, you do want to have some sort of individual who has a technical understanding of finance. I put an accountant, a CPA, or a financial professional. Those are typically the best person to have in charge of this. Although if someone understands finance on a higher level, then you can definitely use that person to do it. Sometimes entrepreneurs will even have to do this themselves. Now, the main function of this one is to do the money management of the business. So the same way that this is the money management series, and this is to teach you about money management to your personal finance, the cash flow level deals with the money management of a business. Now, if managed properly, the business should have enough money. It should have enough money, or the money that it needs. Now, I put typically in quotes because there's always going to be a situation where it may not actually happen, and it's important for me to bring up and pay homage to the fact that does happen. Moving on to communications, and this is going to be internal and external communications. If you guys remember in the first part of the video when I was talking about entrepreneurial skill sets, I did talk about a leader's ability to, or an entrepreneur's ability to communicate internally or externally. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to segment the two. We're going to start with external communications. So this is going to be sales and marketing. So for external communications, as far as sales and marketing, the main function at this level is to build awareness of the mission of the business and develop the business. The kind of individual that you want at this level is someone who can exchange with both customers or client, depending on what kind of business you have, or prospective investors, typically to raise money. So as you can see, that a lot of the stuff that I said with entrepreneurship does overlap here in the business side. Now let's talk about internal communications. So by internal communications, I'm talking about what you say to everyone inside of the business. So at this level, typically the best kind of individuals who work here would be someone who's, let's say, a social worker or a public speaker. Now, you don't necessarily have to be that, like with all of the professions, but you do need to have some layer of understanding of how to deal with the kind of problems that are going to exist at this level. So the first thing that they're going to do is they're going to develop and grow the team. Another thing that they're going to do is they're going to resolve issues within the team. The third thing that they're going to do here is deliver a concise message to the team. And the last one is going to be they're going to maintain the team's motivation. Moving right along to systems, and this is going to be the operations level. Now, typically the best kind of person that you want here is someone like an engineer or a computer scientist. The reason why you want someone like that here is because these individuals are really good at organization and troubleshooting problems. Typically, you want an engineer or someone who has that kind of savvy, mainly because that's exactly what an engineer does. But the main function of these is to first accurately define the roles of the team. Another thing that they're going to do is to define the different systems of the business. So you want to make sure that you have all of the processes that the business does in a concise way. So this is the kind of person that you're going to need to do this. Another one is you're going to have to figure out how to manage manage the operations of the business. So this is going to be the day-to-day stuff that goes on in the business and the most effective way to deal with them. Another thing that you're going to have to address is you're going to have to address and maintain the tools and technologies of the business from the day to day. So this is going to be whatever they're going to use in order to accomplish its goals. So let's say that you're running a financial firm that helps people with personal finance, something that I actually do want to do. One of the things that you're going to need, and very basic, would be a pen, paper, and a calculator. So, sorry about that, guys. I'm going to power through this. Once you have those, you could probably do 90% of the stuff that you were going to do otherwise. But to do it more efficiently, that's usually when you have computers and you have different types of softwares and that kind of stuff. So the last thing that we're going to do is they're going to manage the systems of the business. So the systems of the business, these are the larger things like the server that run your business, and these are going to be not just the tools that you use in the business, but the tools that you use to support whatever tools you use inside the business. I know that's kind of confusing for those of you who don't understand the operation side. I hope anyone listening to this, if you guys work in operations, you can tell me what I did well in describing this and what I did poorly, and that's about all I have for systems. Moving on, we're going to talk about compliance or legal. So at this level, you definitely want to have someone like an attorney. Now, as far as this is concerned, you can potentially do this without an attorney, but I want to say that you're probably better off having an attorney do something like this for you. Another one that I have here is I have registered agent. A registered agent is typically someone in the state level that will tell you if a lawsuit is being brought to your business, and also different compliances. So these are new laws that pop up that are going to affect your business and have to affect the way that you operate your business. And the main function here is to comply with a business has to comply with all associated laws, both general practice and industry specific. Now, the last thing that it's going to do is it's going to protect the business assets as the business grows. So as the business gets larger, it may, in fact, be a target for creditors and bad faith litigation. And essentially what you want to do here is you want to make sure that you can protect as much of the business's asset as it becomes larger and becomes a large business. Okay, moving on to the very top, and this is going to be the design level, so product/service. So at this level, typically you want someone who's kind of like a designer, product designer, or the like. Now, the main thing about this person is the person at this level is going to have to deal with the offerings of the business or what the business produce. Now, if you guys have ever read a book on Robert Kiyosaki talking about the BI triangle, you know that he refers to this as the least important part to the function of the business. Now, for some of you guys, you may be thinking like, well, isn't that the most important part of any business? Because this is what it's ultimately offering customers or investors. And what I'm going to tell you is, yes, you are right where that is very important. But what we're talking about here is how the business functions. Now, the design of a product is really good it's really good for selling the product, but it's not all that good for how the money is going to be kept track of, and how of everything else that has to go on in the business is going to be managed. So now I want to hit you guys with a quote that I got from Robert Kiyosaki. So when it comes to the 5 inner parts of the BI triangle, one of the things that Robert Kiyosaki states often about his rich dad is he told him the following: if you want to attract the best team, you'll have to be the best at something. Now, essentially what this means is what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to master one of the levels of the BI triangle. Now, you could potentially try to get all 5 of them down packed, but that's not always the most necessary. What's necessary is for you to find which one you're the best at and just do that. That way you can maximize your time without becoming a jack of all trades. And this came from the book Before You Quit Your Job, and I actually have this in the description below. Definitely recommend you guys take a look at this one. It has a lot of really good practical information about what happens when you go from employee to an entrepreneur. So let's talk about troubleshooting business or business issues. So what I'm going to say here, and I'm actually going to go out on well, not so much a limb, but I'm going to tell you this. Virtually any problem that you have with a business can be solved by using this particular framework. And the first is to identify the base problem. So when I say identify the base problem, there's always going to be problems with the business. But what you might find out is some of the problems are actually results from other problems. And if you can find whatever the root cause of whatever problems you have in the business, then you can actually work on solving that problem. So once you solve that problem, you don't have to worry about the other ones because the other ones will then in turn be solved. So that's what I mean by finding whatever the base problem is. If you don't do that, then what will end up happening is you probably run into a scenario where you find a new problem that is introduced because the original problem was never solved. The next thing that you want to do is you want to categorize it according to one of the 8 levels of Robert Kiyosaki's BI triangle. Now, when I say this is you want to figure out, once you've identified what the base problem is, what part of the business does it affect the most? And some of them may even affect multiple parts of the business. And it's important to understand that. But what you need to do is you need to be able to identify what it is and be able to categorize or segment the kind of problem that you're having. The next thing that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to find education. So it's important for leadership, entrepreneurs, and management to find possible problems. Now, as far as possible solutions, this is going to take research, and you're going to have to find out exactly what you need to do in order to solve whatever problem, and to see if this is a completely new problem that's never been solved before in humankind, or if it's something that has been solved, but the actual solution isn't commonplace. So the next thing that you're going to do once you actually find some education on how to solve whatever problem that you're having in the business, you're going to then have to find an individual with that expertise. So this is an individual having some expertise with whatever problem that you're having. So if you guys are having problems where you have frustrating employees because they don't really have a framework of what to do when they run into certain issues, in certain cases, that could be a problem with operations, in which case, if you find education with operations and you find someone that can help you at that particular level, what you'll end up finding out is you actually just had really bad systems, and all you had to do was refine your process and then go forward. Now, once you find an individual that can help in this, and this doesn't necessarily have to be someone that you bring in from the outside. This could be someone that you have inside already on your team, and you just need to put them in the position that they need in order to help you solve the problem. Now, the last one is going to be monitor and verify. So the monitor and verify part is to make sure that you make progress towards the solution. Now, a lot of the times what'll happen, especially inside of a business, is sometimes when there's a problem, sometimes people will continue just dealing with the problem, and that's mainly because they've grown accustomed to whatever the problem is, so they just try to navigate around it. And what will end up happening is when you try to solve a problem, once someone has the habit of navigating around the problem, it's not always easy trying to change the behavior. That actually goes back into behavior. So that's one of the things that you have to keep in mind when you're trying to drive change inside of a business. So now let's talk about evaluating a business. So when it comes to evaluating a business, you need to first identify a couple of different things. One of the things you need to do is figure out what is the business goals and mission. So this is ultimately what problem is this business trying to solve. The next thing you need to figure out is how does this business make money? So if I asked you to tell me how does Google make money, then you would probably not know. Most people don't know exactly how Google makes money. They just know that it's one of the biggest search engines in the world. And one of the way that Google makes money is they actually charge business to create ads on their banner for banner postings and all of the things like that. What they end up doing is they end up charging a fee anytime someone hits a ad on. If you guys notice the list of all the things that are related to whatever you search, you notice that it's a special list on typically the right side of the screen. Now that is for businesses who want to add directly to people who have whatever need that they have. And when you hit on those, typically Google gets a fee for each time that you do. So as you know, you as a consumer, you don't pay anything up front, but a business pays something on the back end. And that's how Google makes money. In case you guys were ever wanting to know, I wanted to know how Google got so large, being that they charge a free service to you. Now, you're going to have to figure out how's this business going to run, how it's going to operate. Now, you also need to figure out who can communicate the business. When I say who can communicate the business, this is external communications. You need to figure out who can most effectively tell everyone about the business, whether they're a prospective referral, or if they're a prospective client or customer, or if they're an investor or someone who can refer you to an investor. And another thing that you need to figure out is, how is the business going to grow? So how is this business going to expand and get bigger and demand more market share for whatever industry that the business is in? And the last thing you need to figure out is what tools this business needs in order to be successful. And that's going to be something that's going to be very important. And it's also going to have some constraints, because a lot of the times, some of the tools that the business need, they can't afford. And they're not going to be able to afford that for a while. So when it comes to figuring out what tools they need, this can also help you figure out a lot of the other parts of the business. Okay, guys, so this is the second group of books that I wanted to talk to you guys about. Now, if you guys saw part one, you guys saw a list of books. I want to specify this is a completely different list of books. And I want to talk to you guys about the one at the very top. And this is the Great Courses. So what you guys probably noticed is any one of the recommended book list that I post, I have something from the Great Courses series, and that is for a reason. These are actually some of the best books that I've come across. Now, they aren't necessarily books, they're actual courses where you can actually get an audio file for them. And what I have to say is this one with critical business skills, this one is a good companion for the Entrepreneur's Toolkit that I put on the first one. And this one has 5 different professors talking about special other parts of the business. Okay. Moving right along, this is Start Your Own Corporation by Garret Sutton Esquire, and this is Run Your Own Corporation by Garret Sutton Esquire. Now, for both books, these are two completely different books, and one is just about setting up a corporation and becoming incorporated. All the info that you need there, and it also has a lot of examples of how to troubleshoot what happens when you don't incorporate and the incorporation process across the board. The next thing is Run Your Own Corporation, and this is what you have to do to comply with a lot of different local and state governments, and how to avoid and mitigate litigation and a lot of the stuff like that. The next one is going to be Trump University Marketing 101. So I know some of you guys, especially with a lot of the stuff that's going on with Donald Trump as of recent, I know you guys probably see Trump University and think, oh, this is a scam. But like the one thing that I try to say in every video that I recommend one of the Trump University books is just the sheer fact that I know you guys may feel like, oh, you don't want to do it because it's Donald Trump, but keep in mind that some of the stuff that Donald Trump had before everything with the campaign and the election, it is really good stuff. So I'm going to recommend Marketing 101, and I'm also going to recommend Asset Protection 101. That can actually be a companion for Start Your Own Corporation. Now, the next one that I'm going to bring up is going to be Lawyers Are Liars by Mark Kohler. And in this one, Mark Kohler is both an attorney and a CPA, and he actually talks about some of the things about asset protection that we don't necessarily hear a lot of. And he actually takes a good navigation through this. So I know my cousin Gerard, if you're listening to this and you hear this and you're furious that I would put a book with this kind of title, please understand the only thing that he's really trying to do here is he's trying to navigate through a particular subject that often gets overlooked. He's not really talking about all lawyers are liars, by merit of the fact that if that were true, then himself would potentially be a liar. What he's trying to do is he's trying to talk about different scams that people have when they're going into business. So the next one is Made in America by Sam Walton. If you guys don't know who Sam Walton is, he is the entrepreneur that gave us Walmart. So he's passed on, but this is a book, and this actually talks about his life and what he was able to do with Walmart and what he initially went through trying to get it to one of the most dominant businesses in the world. The next one is Team Code of Honor by Blair Singer. Blair Singer does a great job here. This actually talks about the mission of the business. Next one is Sales Dogs. This is about sales, and it actually talks about the 5 different kinds of salespeople that there are, and that you don't need to be an attack dog or you don't need to be an aggressive salesperson in order to be successful in sales. The next one is Cover Your Nut, and Cover Your Nut is something that's about finance. And that one is actually really good about the cash flow level. And the last one is Midas Touch, and that one is by Robert Kiyosaki and Donald Trump. So that one is also a very good book too. So I'm going to recommend you guys read all of them 5 times. I know there's a lot of books here, but I want to thank you guys for taking a look into them. Once again, all of them are going to be in the description below. So I want to thank you guys for watching this. I know this one was a particularly long one, especially with the 2 sections, but I want to thank you for staying with me. So if you guys like the video, just hit the thumbs up. In the comments, I want you guys to tell me some of the following. I want you to tell me which entrepreneurial skill you think you'd be best at. Tell me which part of Robert Kiyosaki's BI triangle you think you'd be best at. And tell me if you want a business/entrepreneurial series. What I'm most likely going to be doing is I'm probably going to do an entire series on business and entrepreneurship. And once again, if you guys always, if you want more personal finance tutorials, subscribe and you'll receive notifications anytime I upload new ones. So I want to thank you guys once again for joining me on this, and I'll see you on the next video. Also the last one for the basic money management series. All right, guys, we're going to start this video. This is going to be the second part of 3.7, entrepreneurship and business management. And